It's some 5 minutes after 8. You're still watching the AM show. Time now for talk. And my guest in studio this morning, Member of Parliament for Wa Central and Minister of State in charge of Private-Public Partnerships, Dr. Rashid Pelpo. Also in studio today is a Member of Parliament for Ekuapem South, and he's also a former minister under the Eswa Kufuor administration, Obi Amwa, as we are now used to calling him, Osebunsu Amwa. Gentlemen, good morning. Many thanks for joining us here on AM Talk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, obviously the first issue and the most topical issue that has been making rounds since yesterday has to do with the speakers. Okay, maybe we'll delve into the speakers' actions and really what happened on the floor. But obviously the minority in Parliament seeking to call for a bipartisan committee to probe the President's decision to accept a Ford car gift, obviously from a contractor though. Let me start off from Obi. Obi, some would say the Speaker was not fair to the minority in Parliament. Is that a position you're okay with and
Thank you.
You subscribe to?
Thank you, and good morning to you, especially the Minister from the Office of the President, and then our viewers. Well, the Speaker yesterday was not only unfair, he was overly partisan. And it goes to buttress the point that probably we should start looking at how speakers are appointed and then how to rather identify people who act as referees than to be the 12th man on the field. We all know the background of the Speaker. I mean, it's no news. Just like we knew the background of Speaker Alagite, who metamorphosized from party chairman to a speaker. Even though he has a very rich background, he had a very rich background. We know Justice Annan, where he came from to be a speaker. Regina Sechi Hughes was not known politically. Manfrado was on the Supreme Court bench, even though you may say that we knew that he had certain close relationship with certain personalities. But if you really want to talk about persons who had been identified to be on strictly one side, who had assumed the speakership role, then you could talk about Justice Annan, Alagite, and Doe Ajaho. Now, having sat in Parliament for almost 8 years, it's obvious that if you choose to have a speaker whose antecedent is very obvious to be on one side, you have problems. Problems you have is that he takes decisions, some will be blatant and partisan, some he will try to balance the scale, but because of his background, he will still be tagged and perceived to be partisan. But what he did yesterday, I still cannot understand it. Why I cannot understand is that in legal jurisprudence, it doesn't happen. No matter how stupid, in quotes, that you may perceive me to sound, even though I haven't sounded, I must be heard. That alone is enough grounds to quash any decision in a legal system. I thought that at the end of the day, apart from the fact that the NDC had the numbers and the Speaker could rule on the matter, once the Speaker had deemed it fit to admit the request and to summon us, a request of more than the required number, and the motion of the leader, minority leader. As I said, even if we thought what we come to say, it would not make sense. We had to be heard. because that's Parliament.
So you are saying the Speaker was overly partisan. Is that to suggest you think he put the interest of his party and the President above that of the nation?
Certainly, and I'll show you why. In the first place, as he himself said, he was bound to accede to the request. It was a constitutional provision. So he had to summon us. We were recalled. And for the first time in many years, Parliament was invaded by the executive. Some persons I hadn't seen for a very long time, who did not have any business in Parliament, were there. To Kwache. Some regional ministers who are not MPs as yet. All sorts of people that you can think of. Probably it's only the President, the First Lady, and the Vice President who didn't turn up. Almost everybody was there. That's number one. Number two, somehow the story had been put out that we were going to impeach the President, which also didn't really sound too well, because if you want to impeach or you want to start the process of impeachment, you go on Article 69, you write direct to the Speaker. Speaker is bound to send it to the Chief Justice. Chief Justice is supposed to constitute the body, 5 persons senior at the Supreme Court, including herself. At the end of everything, it comes back to Parliament, where you need to test for you to say that you've carried out impeachment process. So obviously it was impeachment. We came under Article 112 that they should recall Parliament for us to ABCD. But as I said, one, because of where he was coming from, the most fundamental thing, before we even go into whether what he read was on all fours or he was just picking and choosing, the most fundamental thing is that he refused to hear us. Not even the leader. He refused to hear us. And if you refuse to hear us, how can you then give me? If you had heard us, the whole world had heard us, you would have gone into the Hansard. That this is our case. This is what we think. Majority will also submit their case. You rule on it. The records are there for everybody to see. As we speak, it's only your ruling which will be in the Hansard. And if you pick it, how are you going to make any sense out of it?
Okay. We'll be delving into
yes.
your issues in a bit. But Dr. Pelpo, is he not making a pretty interesting point there, really? Because it wouldn't hurt to hear from the side of the minority. Well, they are saying they have a case. Because of this, you have recalled Parliament, and then they come and in 12 minutes, you pass your judgment. If that was really the case, why bother recalling them anyway?
Well, first of all, good morning to your viewers, our viewers. The initial remark I want to make is that the Speaker is one of the most
partisanly outstanding
speakers. Not partisanly.
No, Obiama believes he's overly partisan.
Who understands the law and who understands Parliament. I have a basis of saying this. He's been in Parliament since the Fourth Republic, inception of the Fourth Republic since 1992. He was a deputy majority leader. He was a whip, a chief whip, a deputy majority leader. He was a deputy speaker. And then he graduated into becoming a speaker. In all these, he practiced Parliament, understands Parliament. He understands the law, he understands outstanding orders. He's outstanding also because he's one person who can make a ruling, whether it has one party or the other or not, wouldn't be anything of concern to him. The essential thing is the states and parliaments, which have always been his guide and guiding principles because of who he is, his background, rich background, experience, and his abilities. It is logical and it is something that you will expect from an opposition because, I mean, to be heard is good. But you see, the substance of the issue is often as important as the substance itself. Sorry, the procedure of an issue is often as important as the substance of it. What I mean is that if there's a law, procedure to arrive at a ruling about the law is as important as the procedure itself. So he took the matter the Parliament was summoned in accordance with the law as provided by the Constitution, and then without contradicting the tenets of the Constitution and the provisions of the Constitution that allows a quarter of the House to call the House.
It's 15%.
15% rather. It's not. It's 15% of the House to call a House, signatories that you can gather to call the House. He was able. I mean, he acceded to it, and then he called the House.
So you think he hasn't erred in any way? He's just doing.
He didn't err in calling the House at all.
In dismissing the request, did he err?
Now, let me come to the point where he didn't err by dismissing the request. Before a matter is placed before Parliament, it is programmed by the Business Committee. This is according to our own standing orders, Order 53, that before a matter is placed before us, the matter must be programmed by the Business Committee. Now, a motion was purported to have been requested for the Speaker to put before the House for us to debate. It's not the Speaker who does that. So he called the House, but there was nothing in front of him, no business in front of him. What should he do? The best thing was to have examined what was brought in front of him and then to make a ruling, because that was what exactly was in front. What was in front of him was a request to have an emergency sitting. He sat and there was no business in the House. So he examined the reason.
So you are saying because it was not part of the agenda,
there
it
was
couldn't
no
have been
agenda
discussed?
at all. There was no order.
No order
There was
paper.
nothing on the order of paper that said that there was a motion.
But there was a reason why you were being recalled, and we all knew this was the reason why you were being recalled. Obviously, this was one of the most important
and
reasons.
that is why he painstakingly went through the reasons behind the ruling he did. First of all, he said that, look, this matter about investigating the president.
No, we'll be coming to that. I understand that. But I'm just saying that, are you basing this premise of yours on the fact that there was no order paper and
no, there was
nobody knew the agenda for the recall, so because of that, the Speaker didn't err by dismissing this request? Is that what you're saying?
He didn't err at all. Nobody, officially, there was nothing in front of us. There was nothing before the plenary.
But you knew you were being recalled to Parliament.
We don't imagine things and say, or even if I tell you, okay, I want to recall Parliament, and the reason I want to recall Parliament is that I want to move a motion. It's not enough.
But the Speaker mentioned when the session began, he did mention that you were here because of this very issue.
And I'm saying so, that is it. But it is official. It wasn't officially.
So because it wasn't official, he was at liberty to dismiss it.
There's a procedure if you want to put such a matter before the Parliament. There's a procedure.
Okay.
That procedure was sidestepped. If you wanted such a matter before Parliament, you would first of all ensure that you get the matter discussed by the Business Committee. The business committee will program it, and then it will be sent back to the Speaker, and then it will be part of.
So in other words, the minority in Parliament did not follow due process.
They didn't follow due process at all.
So the Speaker was at
there was
liberty
nothing for the Speaker to address.
It's just turning the rules and procedure in Parliament upside down. First, as a member of Parliament, I went to my pigeonhole last week. I had notice of recall to Parliament. We were all served the notice. There was advert in the papers under the hand of the clerk. The whole world was informed that Parliament was sitting. That's number one. 10 a.m. We went to Parliament. We waited for almost 2 hours before the Speaker turned up. Just because he was about to enter, we were served other papers. This other paper which was served on us.
Okay. So there was another paper.
So the first thing I turned and asked a member of the Business Committee was that, has the Business Committee met? He said no. Okay. So how did they generate this other paper? And who generated it? The other paper is only generated after a Business Committee has met. So who generated this other paper? And then on the other paper, what you found was a committee meeting. Mines and Energy Committee meeting on the other paper. Well, I mean, was that why we were summoned? Was that why we were summoned? And then the Speaker, after prayers, proceeds to read his ruling. So bizarre. And then if you think that every speaker should behave this way, this parliament will be called a proper parliament.
So you think as things stand now, we do not have a proper parliament in the country?
I'm saying that if a speaker should behave this way.
The speaker has behaved this way.
Well, this is a one-off thing.
Okay.
This is a one-off thing. That's why I'm saying that if he should behave this way, continuously. Because if for every time we have to meet and there's other paper and there's no business committee, who generates the other paper? J. Mensah is the ranking member of the business committee. He didn't have any clue. Most senior members on the committee didn't have any clue. He as ranking, you have the chairman, vice ranking, deputy ranking. And he as ranking, representing the minority side, he didn't have any clue to this other paper. And this was given to us seconds before the speaker entered.
So you think it was a calculated attempt to just...
Calculated attempt, and it's so bizarre in the sense that it will get your turn again. And I've made it clear that as far as I'm concerned, nobody can say that he has all the knowledge in the world. Nobody can behave that way. Nobody can pretend. Because we've seen situations where the speaker himself has made mistakes. Either he comes to correct himself, or he's taken to court for the court to say, you made a mistake. We were in this country when the speaker refused to swear in refused to be sworn in because he said he had been sworn once. Supreme Court said that you are wrong. Any time that you have to act as president, you have to be sworn in. We were in this country. So what makes the speaker think that he is a repository of all knowledge? Now, the most important thing is for the average person who has sent his representative to parliament. He wants debate. He wants back and forth.
An intellectual discourse.
The majority can, as they say, minority can have their say. And if the majority want to have their way, it's up to them. They will have their way because they have their numbers.
Okay.
But if you are not saying that people should not even have their say, because you are the speaker, or because in your own investigation or your own research, this is what it should be. When you even go to the source of your research, it doesn't even say that.
Okay, let me take a quick reaction from you, Dr. Pelpo, and then I can begin to delve into the main issues. So, as it appears now, the Speaker abused his powers in Parliament, sort of, just so the President will not look bad. That's a summary of what the MPP has been saying.
I'm surprised because, you see, the challenge we have is that every time the minority doesn't have their way, then they cry foul.
This time we didn't even have our say.
And we
didn't have our say.
And if you don't have your say this time, it's because of the circumstances that you find, the circumstances under which you found yourself. You see, the Speaker was right in every sense. This paper he's talking about, this other paper he's talking about.
You are aware of it?
Yeah, we are. Everybody got. That was the order. He made an announcement about it. Constitution. I mean, by our standing orders, every time you are going to say there is prayer, there is commencement of business. You know, when business commences, there's prayer, there's committee sittings, there's that, and then so that order is concrete. It's it has to be done. It's an order, and he said it that is what has always been in our. If there's no business at all, by our convention and by the law, by the standing orders, it's stated in our standing orders that any time Parliament is sitting, this is the order. So it's printed out in the order paper. There was no question. There was no motion. You know, there was no motion.
Okay.
So I'm saying that what the Speaker has done, you know, is perfectly in the right direction. He followed the law. There's an element of it that is supposed to be at his discretion. He exercised it, There's nothing wrong with what he has done.
Okay. Obi, Dr. Rashid Pelpo believes you did not follow due process. In fact, there was no motion for the Speaker to even place before Parliament. But this is the issue.
I've told you the procedure.
I understand the procedure.
Yes.
Let's look at the crux of the matter. Now, per what the Speaker read on the floor, already a constitutionally mandated body is investigating this issue. You want investigated. What's the point in having Parliament also constitute a body to also carry out such virtually the same activity?
That is a very crude way of truncating the whole process. Very crude.
But is it not just a waste of resources?
Whose resources?
The country's resources.
Very crude. Very crude in the sense that before this constitutionally mandated body that everybody is banding around even was asked to investigate this matter, there was a report in Parliament on this matter. This is a copy of it. This is a report. This is an extract of the report.
Maybe I can have a copy.
And open it and see whether you won't find that the Burkina Faso war as part of those listed as monies we have paid, foreign receipts and those things. There's a list there.
And there's a report of the Auditor General on the statement of foreign exchange receipts and payments of the Bank
which was submitted to Parliament and referred to the Public Accounts Committee. So who has this matter first? So what you're saying that if a matter comes to Parliament and a busybody or somebody decides that he wants to go to charge, hey, Parliament, the thing has gone to charge, so don't touch it. How are we going to run Parliament? And
but if you were to investigate this issue, if you really had intentions of investigating this issue long ago, you would have done that.
No.
By now.
No.
Because this was dated 31st December 2013.
Yes. It was, let me bring it and let me read.
Indeed.
Read it.
Some are just saying the NPP is just, it's almost always
just...
we
have, the Auditor General is supposed to report on foreign exchange receipts and payments.
For the period 2013.
It's a separate audit report that they do.
Right.
Apart from the auditing state institutions and corporations, etc. They always have a separate report on foreign exchange receipts and payments. They submitted, this is 2013. Usually it comes at the end of the year, maybe 6 months into the next year.
So let's say you got it in June 2014.
No, eventually it was submitted. And this is what they said. These were payments made to contractors undertaking various projects in the country. Total payments for the period were $85 million compared to $135 million for corresponding year 2012, representing a drop of 37%. Then they listed progress payments to contractors for the second half of 2013 and 2012. Then you have Ghana Mission in Ugadugu, construction of perimeter wall, $656,248.48. This was what was sent to the Public Accounts Committee. The Bank of Ghana was asked to respond to this, and they said they were only a conduit. They were only asked to effect payment for the construction of the wall, because the first thing was the eyebrows about the cost of the wall. Then, thankfully, through your own efforts, led by Manasseh, we have a copious report of what has transpired. Circumstances arising out of the war. And this is Kanazui with all his statements quoted, recorded, and said that the president is my friend. Even when my father died, he sent a delegation. This is how I got business in Ghana, and I admitted that I sent a car.
No, but he never really stated emphatically that he gave the car to induce the president to give him any contract. I'm
not saying that. He doesn't have to say that. He's saying that this is how I started making business in Ghana. I got to know the then vice president through this. It's all here, you know the story. Yeah. And this is, I took this from Manasseh's webpage.
Okay.
The full story, pictures and everything. Contrast this man had secured after he got into touch with the president. And he himself admitting that even in his office he has a picture of the president, admitting that so much has gone here, this. Now, if you really want to investigate this, it will not only be the president. Minister for Foreign Affairs will come in, Minister for Roads will come in, several ministers will be involved in this matter.
And you think the NDC believes this will be too much of a problem for them, particularly
to be a bombshell for them. To be a bombshell. Now, this is a matter which has come after a report has been submitted to Parliament. So if somebody rushes to charge, he say, hey, the person has rushed to charge, so Parliament, Fantus, you cannot handle this matter. Let's charge finish. Meanwhile, what the Speaker is quoting as the Supreme Court case, that didn't say that when there is allegation of corruption, cronyism, favoritism, etc., it's only charge we can handle it. What the Supreme Court said in Okujeto, Ablakwa, and another against the Lamte, which is reported in the Supreme Court Law Report 2012, 845, page 845, is that when it comes to conflict of interest under the Constitution, it's only charge which will go into the matter. But what we are talking is not only about conflict of interest. If you read that case, they even cite Article 35(8), where we are supposed to protect the resources of the state and avoid corruption. I can quote it here for you. So it wasn't only on one provision in the Constitution that the court ruled on the matter. So if you go and pick only one provision in the Constitution and say that, oh, it's conflict of interest that you want to talk about, it's conflict of interest, as for conflict of interest is in the domain of charge, Supreme Court has ruled on it, then you want to turn the whole law upside down. Otherwise, then Parliament cannot function. Because anytime it goes to charge, oh, you can find conflict of interest in it. So Parliament keep quiet for charge to do its work. What business do we have having Public Accounts Committee?
Dr. Popo, so
what business do we have?
Obviously, is there anything wrong with Parliament also setting up a committee to investigate this rather worrying situation?
You see, sometimes...
Some would say it's in the interest of Ghanaians.
Sometimes the interest of people, the interest of Ghanaians is downplayed in favor of a parochial interest.
The MPP says that's what is being done now.
The minority in this sense, if they receive this report whilst we were in Parliament and didn't think that there was a need. 2013, this report came up at the. So let's
say they got it in 2014.
But I'm coming.
No, it's not the report. It came up. I said it. When did Anas conclude this investigation? We all didn't know.
No, please. It came up. It came up about the president's a vehicle sent to the president. Yeah. They didn't see anything wrong with it at all. It took a private person to go and do an investigation, right or wrong, for you to now pick it up and say you will do it. Anas's report also came out.
That's Manasseh's report.
Yeah, Manasseh's report also came out long before Parliament went on recess again. They didn't see the need at all. The parochial interest I'm talking about is the fact that they are timing it close to an election when they can bring out all kinds of allegations, bring out all kinds of issues that cannot be substantiated.
So you stop them in their tracks?
No, I didn't stop them.
Okay.
There was an umpire who stopped them because they flouted the procedures.
12th player.
They flouted the procedures, without, I don't know what to say. So they waited until close to the election when all these allegations they will heap on the president. By the time we tried to unravel the truth,
they just gained some political capital.
They would have gained some. That's why I'm saying that.
So the speaker should stop it.
They time it because they wanted to satisfy their parochial interest. Rather than satisfying the broad majority of Ghanaians, if they thought that there was anything substantial to investigate, they left it undone.
But some would say the fact that something happened some time ago and at the time it wasn't investigated, is it now wrong if we feel the need to bring up that issue again, seeing that...
Not at all. I'm coming there. The question is whether there was the need for Parliament to go into the investigation or not.
Do you think
and I agree with the Speaker that there was no need at all. 4 different people, or 3 or 4 different people, have petitioned the Shiraj. The Shiraj is a constitutional body that is given the mandate to investigate corruption amongst office holders. Yeah. This issue, whether it is conflict of interest, whether it is because somebody wants to win at a contract or not, it has to do with an office holder corrupting his or her office.
Not to interrupt you, but what the MPP is saying now, at least what Obiamo is telling us now, is that their focus was not necessarily on a conflict of interest. It has to do with an issue that had come up in this very report he showed us a short while ago. The cost of that very war. And indeed, that issue was a big issue. I do remember that. So a Public Accounts Committee has investigated. And I mean, if PAC was allowed to investigate this, to bring up this issue once more, and if a bipartisan committee is to investigate it, what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's about the monies, and we keep hearing day in, day out, monies that...
disagreeing with his definition of what corruption is.
Oh,
by saying that it's not only about corruption, there's this and about this. It's not also only about conflict of interest. It's about this, it's about that. No, Suraj is not limited to investigating any specific thing. It is about a holistic approach to an issue that was brought before it. Those who petitioned did not petition and say that only investigate conflict of interest. And they are an institution in Ghana. I mean, they are a public institution, they are a constitutional body, and they have the mandate to do a comprehensive investigation on it. And they are in the process of doing it. Now, if we didn't want to gain political interest out of it, why do we have to institute our own investigation? In the end, we have two reports. Which one is credible? Which one would be acceptable by the people of Ghana? What are we doing? You know, I think that Honorable Do Ajaho, has done us a lot of good. Let's all wait for Suraj to come out with a clear...
So he has saved all of us the trouble.
Yeah, the trouble of
would have wasted
a
our
complex system, creating a complex situation where Parliament, with a lot of rancor, division, acrimony, will come out with some position that is colored by opposition and government people, minority, majority view, and then rumbling everywhere. And
then Parliament should never sit.
A lot of chaotic situation. Let this constitutional body institute an investigation. There's no question of whether you are a minority, majority. There's no question of going to the committee and saying the majority have used their browns against you, and then they are brown against you and downplayed your interests. Or you bring it to the plenary, we vote against it, you say you have a case, but they have voted against you, crying foul. Let's put it to Suraj. Let Suraj, which is a constitutional body, which is non-partisan, which is objective, which we are all looking at, can criticize if they do the wrong thing. Let them investigate it. And let them come out with a position. And let Parliament pick the position. And go to debate it if they think there's something we can get out of it.
Obi Amwa believes this very move by the Speaker of Parliament brings into question how we even go about appointing people to lead Parliament.
You can never get it right in that sense. You can never get a situation where a Speaker of Parliament cannot exercise a discretion which is allowed. And that discretion, I believe, will always go, will always be in favor of
one party or the other.
Yeah, one party or the other. And then the other party will always complain.
Perhaps if we were to look at a situation where we had a neutral person take up that very position, maybe all these bickerings and rancoroing wouldn't be...
We have talked about, he talked about 3 appointed individuals who were not necessarily partisan.
Who were partisan? It's only two
who were not necessarily partisan. And in each of them, you can cite situations where they appear to be partisan, including and a classical case. A classical case is Alajete.
Okay.
When he ruled.
Oh, I said Alajete was partisan.
Yes.
I said he came from a partisan background.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Which of them are you saying? Okay, Sechi Hughes.
And
Bamford. In each of them, there were instances in Parliament. I sat as a deputy majority leader under Bamford Ado, In her particular rulings, there were instances when she was seen to be partisan.
Which kind of instance?
I won't be able to cite clear instances now, but there were instances where she was found to be partisan. And there were instances where we ourselves also felt bad about some rulings. In that sense, exercising that discretion will always go one way or the other. Even with the present ruler, the present speaker, there are instances where the members of the minority are happy, and there are instances when we are happy. In fact, he is one person who is from a partisan background, but has tried very hard to be non-partisan in most of his rulings. And I'm very satisfied with it. Not because...
not?
Maybe
not
some will say because you're a
I'm
member of the NDC.
No, not
Why
because
not?
of that.
You'll be happy.
I have... Look, maybe he will be vindicated by history when he's out of the scene and when his rulings are examined. You know, they will be very classical. But for this single event that they are complaining about, pick all his rulings.
This speaker has been very partisan.
You will find...
This is
Even
not the first time
questions.
this is not the first time they are raising
Even
issues.
admitting questions.
It's because...
He
they
was-
know-
That was just the situation.
It's because-
it's because they know
What
his
kind of
background.
speaker is this?
I think it's because they know his background. They have a premeditated feeling that this man must not be for us, and so his ruling must not always be our ruling. So whether he does it well or not, it's a complaint.
But you still think, at least the NDC, the position you have now is that we can't have a neutral person, so we might as well just choose one of our own. Is that it?
Just choose it. I mean, choose the best in Ghana. Let him exercise his, let him follow the law as much as possible. Let him be as neutral as possible, but let him use his discretion where he thinks is necessary.
Okay, Obi.
Yeah.
I remember when he was being considered for this position, and in fact, we did see what happened on the floor of Parliament. It was a unanimous decision. The minority and majority both agreed he was the right person to lead the House. Why are you now re-examining his rulings and all, and seeking to suggest that he's just pushing the agenda of the NDC and not allowing...
In the first place, he was the only person nominated for that position. That's number one. It's not that we were asked to choose between individuals. Number two, it goes with the majority.
But you could have reserved, you could have put across your reservations with him.
People felt that coming from our fold, having gone through and risen to that level, you should be given the opportunity. But I believe that he has abused that opportunity.
Do you regret endorsing
Very
him?
much so.
The MPP regrets having Doja
Very
as
much
Speaker
so.
of Parliament?
Very much so. Why do I say that?
My brother,
I can list.
I think
I
you
can
should-
list a number of.
You have to calm down. This
please.
single event should not inform you about
No,
what the
you-
speaker
It
is.
appears they are anticipating.
They are-
Yes,
they are
and
bitter.
the
I don't
MPP,
think
the
you
MPP
should do
There's
believes
a
that
sequence of events
This is
that would
the-
like
No,
to
no.
conclude.
Then for the first time, he's saying all these sequence of events. They are bitter about this single event. I think you should have a sober,
I am
sober
not-
moment
There's
and reflect
no
on
way.
what has
all right,
happened.
but
There's
let's
no
let
way
him-
that my people will send me to Parliament and I will get there and they say you will not be allowed to speak. I'm saying that no matter how stupid I look, let me speak and tell me that what you said is stupid or nonsense. But for you to tell me I will not let you speak at all, by my training as a lawyer, I will never accept it. I will never accept it. If I should go to court to represent a client for a judge to tell me you cannot speak, I will go upstairs. I will appeal against it just because I will say that I was not heard.
Is that what the MPP is going to do now?
There are several options. This matter will not end. After all, we go for elections. Come January, there will still be Parliament. If you have to pursue, we will pursue it.
I will advise the MPP
If you have to pursue, we will still
in
pursue
Parliament not to let the people of Ghana down and not to let.
Let the
You think they are doing that now?
They
Let the
have
people
let
of
them
this Ghana
down by
down.
failing to go through the process, the due process that would have
You
allowed
have had
them
your
to
turn.
move a motion.
You have had your turn.
They have failed.
He's asking me a
And
question.
So what is
asked
the
the
MPP
question.
doing now about this issue? The minority in Parliament.
The general statement I've made is that this matter has not ended. And I'm saying that why? Parliament exists. Parliament will continue to exist. And we will still pursue this matter.
So are you now going to go through the
No,
right
it's not for me
processes?
to tell you which right processes. Which right process? A whole minority leader submits a motion. As he said initially, it was signed even on his behalf by the deputy. The speaker rejected it. He had to come back from his travels to come and sign it himself before the speaker admitted it. If you thought that there was a problem with the motion, you could have called him and said that there's a problem with this motion. I will not even call Parliament. But you accept it, you admit it, you publish notices to the whole world in the media at a cost. You invite us, notices, and then you come and say that I won't hear you, I won't listen to you. This is my verdict. Go away. In 12 minutes. Then why am I in Parliament?
Osebo Nsoma is Member of Parliament for Ekuapem South, and he's also been former minister in the Eswa Akufo administration. He was sports minister. And I think one of these days we need to bring you in studio so we talk about some of the things that are happening on the sports front.
Probably the good thing that happened only yesterday was that the CI-94 regulations on
exactly
elections
on the elections
entered into force.
Indeed.
But
Indeed.
there must be advice to follow process so that they don't come complaining and
So that
giving the
you stop me
impression
from
that
talking.
That was Dr. Rashid
Very
Topo
soon
as
we
well,
will talk
and
because
he's
you
Minister
have to
of
follow
State in charge
process.
of private-public partnerships, also member of Parliament for WAS Central, and indeed they are both contesting anyway. They're both contesting. So we wish them all the best anyway, and thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time on AM Talk this morning. But as we wrap up on AM Talk, I need to let you know that there's more that you need to expect on the show in the next 15 minutes, because we do have Joe Metal in studio. Benis Abubedo will be having a bit of chit-chat with him, and tomorrow, I'm sure you do know by now that Danny Nete's funeral will be held. We'll be bringing a lot more on that as well. But do stay on. This is the AM Show.